We're at the site of the former Edmonton Indian Residential School. Only survivors who went here know what the grounds used to look like and what happened to them while they were here. In particular, they remember one day in 1961 when they violently overthrew staff, took over the school, and won their freedom for a precious few hours. That event may be the only riot in the history of Indian residential schools. The United Church of Canada opened this school in 1924 and ran it basically for the next 4 decades. Hundreds of Indigenous children as young as 6 years old were brought here to undergo assimilation into Western culture. Students have described abuse and neglect, even speaking of starvation. Most of the structures are gone, including the school. We've come here today to meet survivors,
You're welcome.
including some who were here in 1961. They're gathering to discuss the future of the site, but we're here to talk about the past, because the riot only lives in their memories. It's the first time they're speaking about what happened here. Gary Williams was 11 years old.
And the skating rink had to be right around here, right where these trees are.
When the riot started, he was outside skating with his younger brother. What did you hear or see that indicated something was happening, something was going on?
I guess the first thing I heard was the bell ringing, and we kind of know what the bell was for. It wasn't an ordinary bell. It almost sounded unreal to have that bell ringing that long. I noticed there was quite a loud presence inside the door and corridors and whatnot.
The roots of the riot go back years. Kids were fed up with abuse and conditions at the school. The fuse had been lit. It was just a question of when things would explode for the 147 students there. You talked about how the staff, particularly the dorm supervisors, treated the kids mean and cross, and that contributed to the riot itself.
Eventually,
Like they created the meanness in the kids.
Yeah, especially that fall. You felt it in the air for days before the riot. Something was going to happen.
Ray Jones was 16 and in grade 10.
What's surprising was the intenseness. The intenseness after the riot, just boom.
Like a match to gas.
Yeah, the atmosphere of the school, getting worse and worse.
But the straw that broke the camel's back was the food. 3 times a day, they were fed what's called spork. It was canned meat described to us by one of the survivors today as looking and smelling like dog food. It was just a cheap canned meat that they used to feed the kids for breakfast, lunch, and supper. So they get tired of this. A female student named Helen worked in the kitchen, cooking for both kids and staff, and she saw the disparity between the meals. Students ate meagerly, staff ate like kings. That day, she got angry. She took boxes of spork outside and smashed them against the wall. Students gathered to watch. Staff tried to shoo them away. The crowd of kids pushed the staff inside into the hallway and started advancing on them. There was screaming and threatening from both sides. Older boys broke into a fire hose cabinet, pulled out the hoses, and sprayed the staff. Then, someone beat the principal in the head with a medicine ball. Students saw fear in staff's eyes, and they weren't scared of them anymore. The staff retreated into their rooms and locked the doors. The kids had control of the school. Siblings were able to meet for the first time in months, something they were forbidden from doing. That 15-year-old Helen, you were 15 in that picture?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about her.
Well, that Helen, she was really, I was good up to that point until I saw the difference between our meals, so. Mm-hmm.
Helen Johnson was that girl in the kitchen who started the riot. She's now 77. We've come to her community in BC's northwest, where most of the kids at the school were from. She remembers how it ended after only a few hours. Students had built a 6-foot-high barricade out of cans of spork. Police arrived with dogs and set them loose but the smell distracted them. What happened in the aftermath? So it's all, the cops come, the dogs stop and smell the pork, but the cops get to you guys anyway.
Yeah, they just told us to settle down.
What happened to you after that?
Well, I just went back to my dorm. I settled down like a good little girl. Not till later, when the principals start naming us all out.
One outcome of the riot was that food at the school was improved, but punishment was also dished out. 2 students were expelled. Helen was later brought to the office and strapped. She was put on a train with no money and sent home. When she arrived, most of her family was gone. She'd forgotten her language. To this day, she feels lost at home, but she doesn't regret what she did. What do you think about that event? What do you think about what happened when you look back today?
I think I did a good job myself, where I encouraged the children to speak out. Don't be scared of nobody. You know, no matter who it is, and what you hear from them is wrong, speak out. Don't be afraid. No, what they're doing is wrong, I told them. And what they say is wrong about you, being a dumb Indian. I wanted to make sure that I did it for a purpose, not for no reason at all. Because I'm not that type of a person, right? Unless I have to be. So that day, I had a purpose. It had to do with food.
The standard narrative we've heard until now about Indigenous children being put through residential schools is that they were being passively assimilated. These ones weren't. They resisted. But many survivors still haven't talked about what they call a victory, not even to their families. As one survivor put it, it's a good memory, but it's wrapped up in 1,000 ugly ones.